is the quarterfinals of the Summer Showdown. My name is George, joined by Hex as always, and we're about to get into the final two games of the quarterfinals. Hex, we got the Justice, we got the Shock. Will it be another upset? Maybe. We'll see. I think this is the least likely series to be upset, but, you know, if they do, it will go down in the history books.
Yeah, I mean, this is number one seed, a dominant team. San Francisco won all three of their matches. They swept all three of those. They started the season 1-2 and haven't lost a match since. Washington has looked like a different team. They've won 2 in a row, which, fun fact, is their longest winning streak of the entire season. They've looked good. They brought in new pieces, but the San Francisco Shock are still the San Francisco Shock, largely agreed upon as the best and most dominant Overwatch League team of all time.
Yeah, upwards hill battle. And I think it's going to have to rely on Tuba being one of those and Stitch as well. We do have Arc with a couple of interesting thoughts before we get into the game. Let's see what he has to say and get my words out eventually against the Shock today.
You think that with Tuba, on the back of Tuba, you guys can win this match?
I think there's like a possibility because we're kind of like a jackpot team, you know? Like, yeah. So sometimes we just have like 7-7-7 and we just like suddenly like really like hard win on the really good teams on the screen sometimes. But we kind of sometimes like cannot do something at all sometimes. So we're kind of like a jackpot. So let's see how it goes. Is how you feel, I think. But there's definitely a chance. I think Tuba, Stitch, really good players who can make lots of variants, would probably make lots of, crack on the team maybe.
So you're saying there is a chance that they take the W today, and there definitely is. He said that looking in there that Tuba and Stitch are performing extremely well, and on paper I think you look at the Washington Justice lineup and you say, wow, these are some exceptional players. And with Tuba also showing up for the last couple of weeks, a big question mark I think coming into the season as a whole. Not unknown in the Korean scene, of course, but people who don't tend to watch contenders might not have known who he was. And the Genji has just been so perfect for him recently.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about it because in the play-in game against the Boston Uprising, it was only just Nano Blades constantly getting fed. And like, yeah, you're going to win with Nano Blade. Is he really that good of a Genji? But yesterday's match showed me that he can combo it with other things as well. I mean, it's not necessarily always a naked blade per se. You can use the Supercharger. You can use a Rally. We saw in the most previous match a Transcendence, an offensive Transcendence to help cover your blade. So there's a lot of interesting ways you can do it. And they looked really, really good. If this Washington team, number 13, was going against anybody else, I'd give them a much better chance. However, they're going against the San Francisco Shock. As we saw, Stitch is going to be in the lineup. He had a better game yesterday. Tuba, Roar played well yesterday. Janu played well. AimGod and Arc are going to line this out. It seems like this is the 6th they want to roll with. This roster has been through a lot of changes, some retirements throughout the year. So maybe this 2-game winning streak is a turning over of a new leaf.
Pocket Tuba, I think that's going to be the mantra for today for the Washington Justice.
Yeah.
We saw the stats on your screen a second ago. I mean, 6.7 Dragon Blade kills per 10. Yeah, it's pretty good. Do you know what also pretty good, Hex? Well, San Francisco's everything, including their team fight stats as well.
Yeah, their win rates are just through the roof when they get the first elimination there at first, when they, just overall team fight win rate is first. What's most impressive to me that I like about this San Francisco team is if they lose one, they still win 36% of their fights, getting the first death or second in the league, so they will bring it back. So if you want to beat San Francisco, you better be up there with your Genji, getting at least 2 kills per blade, because if you only get one, San Francisco's going to come roaring back and kind of just stuff it back at you.
Of course, we're having Arns and Striker in. We saw Arns on Ilios the other week against Philly. It was just, oh my word. Like, I've never seen a more disgusting highlight reel from a sniper. Arns and Striker, DPS, Smurf, Choi in the tank role, and Violet and Twilight to round out the support.
Yeah, which is why we've run out of superlatives when you talk about this team, because they're just sitting all-stars on the bench, and you've got Rascal sitting on the bench as well. But Ons, you mentioned it, on Ilios, absolutely filthy. I think he knocked Carpe out like the first 3 times Carpe lived, so that's just demoralizing against that Philly team. Yeah, and he's just hitting headshots. He ended, I believe, as Widowmaker in Week 21 with a 56% crit rate. That's over half of your shots. You're hitting critical hits against double shield and against a lot of interesting compositions. And yeah, they started it off on Ilios. It is going to be San Francisco's pick of map first. It very well may be their only map pick of this series, but we're going to kick it off on Ilios as It's a very good Widow map, especially Ruins. Ruins is always a Widow map, but we saw them run it on Lighthouse as well, I think. Or no, the one at the windmill. I always forget what it's called. I used to call it the Murder Hole, but I got in trouble for it. But you can run it almost anywhere, so I would imagine you're going to start seeing Widow and Tracer would be the rollout lineup for San Francisco.
Well, here it is. It was the first map against Philly the other day, where they went 3-0. Demolishing them, and it's going to be the first map here today as well. Arns is definitely running Widow. There's absolutely no if and or buts about it. Don't change the
that's
come on now. Don't be silly.
So, but it's a big ask of Stitch, and I think Stitch more known for his McCree than his Widow, but you got to step up and maybe just duel. And it's a duel that you probably wouldn't expect Stitch to win, but you want to just kind of keep even. Even if he gets 1 out of 3 duels, just try to keep Ons honest, which is what Philadelphia failed to do.
Keeping Ons honest? How? How do you do that when you're playing Widow?
No, you don't.
Seriously.
I mean,
You don't, exactly. Okay, so Stitch is rolling out on the Widow. Well, that would have been a dirty peek if he was on the high ground, but fast rotation. Of course, Striker's going to be on damage control on the low ground, kind of trying to keep Tuber in check. Well, okay, Striker doesn't have to do any of that because Violet actually kills him instead. Okay. All right, go again. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. Back to spawn. Back to spawn. Violet's 3rd kill, maybe? Melee? Oh, gets him right in the back. 4th kill, in fact, because he kills Arc too. Okay, well, Violet killed 4 people at the start of that fight. Not something you'd normally see from the BAP, especially when you have Arns on your team, but there it is.
Well, that's always what we think about with San Francisco, too, because some of these other teams in the tournament, and you've seen it throughout the last couple days, of like, if we can shut down this person, then we have a chance at winning. You don't have that option against San Francisco. You simply don't. And it's not just the damage dealers, it's the tanks, it's the supports. I mean, you've got Twilight, an MVP candidate from last year, is going to come in and play the Brigida. Violet's been maybe the best BAP in the league, so it's just a super, super difficult ask. And Washington's going to have a hard time building up ultimates, because San Francisco doesn't just let you do what they want. They dictate the pace.
Striker has the pulse bomb now. Already takes out Stitch. That was a 1 clip into a pulse bomb. Tube's also going to fall. Violet must be leading at this point in final blows for Shock. He's just going, he's not healing. That's the joke. He's only using the shift to heal. I swear he's not hitting any right clicks whatsoever. He's only hitting heads with the left. Well, that'll be Shock continuing controlling the point. Tuber is 44%, by the way, to a blade, and Stitch has had enough of the Middlewaker 1v1. I mean, he was getting checked not only by Arns, of course, but by Striker, who was making Arns' job a whole lot easier. He's now on the Ashe instead. But it's really going to be, what, 1 fight maybe at this point? Because look at the ults from San Francisco right now. Flux, Window, and Supercharger. It's going to be a tough ask for Justice to actually push onto the point.
I mean, there's not a whole lot to say that we haven't already said about San Francisco, and they're going to try to open it up with a Window, but a nice defensive Flux is going to ruin that idea and force out the early Immortality field.
Yeah, Supercharger went down as well, but Smurf's Supercharger was a little haphazardly placed around the corner. It does end up falling, but it doesn't matter because Choi and Striker made the most of it. Violet cleaning up as well as Striker on the side. This is what I was saying. Maybe it's only 1 fight, and that's exactly what Justice have right now. 90% on the board for the Shock. Arns is still sitting up on high ground, not refusing to budge, or at least he was on high ground. Now he's just sniping this spawn.
Well, you are correct. Violet is violent. He does lead his team in final blows with 7.
Ooh, they didn't even touch! Oh man, this is why I want the hitbox. We had this before where someone tried to dash onto the point as the Genji, and it looked like it hit. That looked like it hit as well, but unfortunately they were unable to touch. Tua, he managed to get the blade off, mate, but well, it was in the victory screen for the San Francisco Shock. So 1 stage down, and now Ruins is the place to play.
Oh, that's a tough draw. It's always been a good Widow map, even when Widow is not in the meta. Do you want to guess how many kills Washington had that last round? Let's play a fun little game.
Okay, I'm gonna. God, 1,
0.
Oh, okay. Well, fuck. Oh.
That's kind of fair, because is 0
yeah,
even a real number? I don't know. I didn't even pass high school math, so.
Wow.
It's a little illogical number, real numbers. I never. That's as far as I got. And I'm like, I'm done with this.
Well, this match is pretty damn real right now. Justice, they need at least 1 kill to maybe get onto the point. Striker and Arns on the Tracer Widow once again. It would help, yeah. I'm not sure you can go kill us. Whoa, thank God already falls. A bit sad. Striker does trip the Venomine, still willing to fight, even though the Mega Pack was picked up. Recalls. 149 HP, mate. You have to get help, mate. What do you do? Choi is going to play the backline battle as well. Violet doesn't falling. At least Stitch manages to kill off Striker, but the tanks for the Justice going down is not going to result in all of anything. Should be Shock now picking up the points.
Well, already an improvement, though. At least they got a couple of kills there. It wasn't a complete wipe, so it's going to help Washington maybe get to some ultimates, because that has been their win condition, let's be honest. It's Tuba getting Blade, comboing it with other ultimates. Before it was Nano Blade. Yesterday, it was just Superchargers and a lot of halts and into Blades and things like that. So Washington, I think, is a much more ultimate-reliant team than San Francisco. San Francisco can win in the neutral a lot easier.
Stitch just managed to put himself up towards site soon. A window available for Violet as well. Plugs didn't really find too much, but it did force out the Immortality field, which is going to be important. Twilight ends up going down. Now Shock coming up big with the kills. That's what I'm talking about, but it doesn't matter. Justice are going to fall, and the Shock are going to continue to hold. No one can stop Arns, even if he's just the existence of Widowmaker, to be fair, and it being someone like Arns, he was toying with aim god there. It's just such an overwhelming threat of pressure. You don't want to peek things, you don't want to poke your little head out, otherwise you will just get sniped. It's on to really Tuba to try and find something here now with the Blade. They've got a flux advantage as well as Janu is nearing his, but Choi is just catching him up too, actually.
Ons only has one final blow this map so far. And so it is absolutely just the threat of him making Washington play around it, and then San Francisco's rotating wherever Washington's trying to get to so they can play out of sightlines.
Early Supercharger, Pulse does get eaten, luckily enough for the Justice. Still sitting on the Blade is Tuba as they do march forward onto the point. Immortality still down as well. Armor is coming out from the rally. Is Tuba going to be able to find anything? He's getting just bullied. You see that boop straight out? He got halted away, booped by the left click of the brick. Couldn't really do too much apart from get some damage down. Smurf ends up falling with the help of that Supercharger laid out on the point by Raw, and Justice have finally found the point and the fight that they wanted. Arns lines up another kill. Hex has got two at this point with Janu falling, but the Justice are fighting back as they take control.
Yeah, Stitch is going to be in the advantage now. He's finally in control as Widow, and he's going to have the sights up a lot quicker. Now, if that really matters against a Widowmaker, the caliber of Ans, we will yet to see. Twilight did a really good job there keeping his team alive as long as they did, but Washington had to commit everything, and, why not at that point in time? You put in Supercharger, you want to make sure you win fights against the Shock, because like I said, you kill one against the Shock, they still have a 35% chance to win that fight.
They just need to survive against this onslaught of damage. Tuba's a little bit too unlucky. Arns ends up clicking his head. Striker's going to attack at Arc as well, and now he has a Pulse Bomb at hand. Raw falls to Arns and still just left uninhibited. And again, it's like, who do you send to kind of deal with him, right? You got to send Tuba, but if Tuba gets clicked on, it's almost impossible. Stitch is then in a game like a 2v1 DPS, 99% now, almost building up, manages to click over to OT, but Tuba ends up going down. Now the ball to stall, but the Pulse Bomb will finish him off. OT's going to tick through, and the Shock are going to claim their first map in the series. Ilios goes to them.
Yeah, it looked like the script writers were like, okay guys, enough. Enough of the twists and turns, enough of the upsets. It's just simply too unbelievable that San Francisco would, get even touched at all by the Washington Justice. And San Francisco Shock, this is what we expect out of them. Absolute and utter dominance. Washington Justice going to try to have to roll for that jackpot on a different map because Ilios ain't it. The good thing is they're going to be able to pick the next map, and that's something. Look at the bright side. You know me, I'm the eternal optimist.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, yes, Hex. That's exactly the word I think of you. Think of when I think of you, optimist. Well, like you said, they do get to choose their map, so maybe they can go to something a little bit more favorable. Maybe something that Arns can't play Widow, but then they have a billion people on the bench that could fill his role if needed, and he can play a sick Ashe as well. We're going to jump to a quick break. Can the Justice fight back? We'll have to wait and see after this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. The Overwatch League is brought to you by HyperX. Unleash your style, unleash your fury with HyperX Fury Memory. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
저희가 저번 토너먼트에 우승을 했는데 이번 시즌에도 저번 시즌처럼 똑같이 연습을 하고 저번 시즌보다 더 열심히 더 연습을 해서 또 꼭 다시 우승하도록 하겠습니다.
Welcome back. This is the Shock versus the Justice. That was a very quick and clean victory for the Justice on Ilios, but now it is time for the Washington to pick their map, and then we're going to King's Row.
So King's Row is interesting because we've seen a lot of Genji played on it lately. It didn't used to be considered that much of a Genji map, but it's a Genji meta, so you kind of just force it. It's sometimes where a meta becomes so dominant by one hero that every map just becomes, yeah, they're good on that map because they're just a really good hero. It's also Washington's best control map, 2 wins this year on King's Row. San Francisco, as you know, you could probably guess, undefeated on King's Row so far this year, as with most of their maps. Like I said, they started 1 and 2 on the year. There were a lot of doubts. There was a really hilarious Reddit post that said, "I told you San Francisco was done." If you want to go back and look at that, I think it's probably copy pasta at this point in time. And then they just haven't lost a match since. So the San Francisco team is a dominant squad, and like Ark said, you're just gonna have to roll the dice and hope that you hit. So you pull that. Try to get a jackpot on the slot machine, come up all 7s, and just give it your best fighting chance. That's all you can ask. But if you have a friend who's a fan of the Washington Justice or the San Francisco Shock and they want to catch games today, I would call them right now because I do not foresee this one going very, very long. But I'm willing to be surprised.
Well,
look, we have an 11 seed going to the semis. So
Exactly.
it's the fun thing about all competition is that you get to be surprised at all times.
Upsets happen. They have happened today. They happened yesterday. And it can still happen in this series, Hex. The Justice is going to have to ask for something rather large, though. That is for certain. Hey, man. Like you said,
I can just hear the tone of your voice. Like, it could still happen.
It could still...
Like,
No. Let's get the one thing clear. No, I was being positive. It can still happen.
Look, I'm on the up on this Washington team. I think, like, overall, just individually and as a team, they have straight up looked better over their last 2 matches. And that's not just Tuba going nuts on Genji. I thought, like, some of their tank play yesterday was some of the best tank play that they've had as a team. It's going to take a bit for some coordination between your main tank and your off tank, especially trying to hit the Halt and Accretion combo, which is so critical. The only people who've really been on this squad all year, Aim God and Arc, but now they have to work with new tanks, they have to work with new damage dealers, so it was going to take a bit. And if it was any other team, I'd give Washington a chance. But now I give them a snowball's chance in hell. I really just don't see it. I don't see it.
We have a harder map to play the Widowmaker on. You heard that deflect sound. You've got to be a little bit more careful than that, it feels. Oh, he takes a headshot and strike it. Instantly finishes Raw off. That's the pick they were really looking for. Not something you'd usually see. The Arista going down first like that. Trying to escort herself back towards the supports, but it didn't quite happen. It's just too quick to deal with as well if you're the Batiste. Normally you want to drive the M1 field if you know the tanks are in trouble, but a headshot straight into strike, a pepper, and you full of bullets. You're not expecting the damage coming out that quickly. Shocking out on the point. Raw's going to be able to get back in time for a recontest, potentially. 2 ticks on the board already. The Striker's found himself in the back line of his own team.
Yeah,
as Arndt ends up going down to Tuba, so now they're a man up. Striker's still doing a fair bit of work in the back line though, just taking people so low. Raw is going to go down yet again. Smurf passed through the shield, but tank for tank as Choi also falls. 2 ticks on the board though now for the Shock, and Washington Justice still managed to defend. Not bad at all. And hey, Tuba, he's probably going to have Blade for the next fight as well.
Yeah, little bit of a... I mean, that wasn't even jackpot. That's just straight up, you know, like a decent payout on that slot machine there. They didn't hit the 7s. They didn't even need to use the Blade. That's really, really nice. San Francisco are going to be stubborn and stay on this Widow, and, you know, I don't really blame them. It provides so much value because just the threat of Widow. You can play Widow on a map and it just makes the other team play different.
Tati Field uses the window to try and force them off the point.
Pulse bomb now.
Strikes now in the back line with the pulse bomb. Can he land a connection? No, he cannot. It lands on the floor, but it doesn't matter. It forces the supports away. Engod goes down, so does Striker. He goes down a few times on the floor there. He also ends up picking up Tuba, so that's going to be the play. And it was unfortunate there. Justice they weren't able to actually get the blade out in time, and Stitch was so close to the Bob too. It was up to Striker at that point, like I mentioned, like landing the pulse bomb, but he ended up missing, but it actually forced both AimGod and Stitch to back up so far and try and escape the pulse bomb damage that they just weren't able to get the heals and damage out in time.
An accidental zoning pulse bomb. Maybe that's why he was kneeling, trying to pick up the pulse bomb that he dropped down. And yeah, it's tough for Washington because they had, like you said, they had their damage ultimates up. Blade has been their win condition over the last several sets, and also Bob could have been great there to try to just push San Francisco back and at least have a zoning aspect.
Oh, Arndt's on the flank. Oh, he's waiting for the flank. Can he hit the headshot? Oh, he does, but he hits it on himself. Whoops-a-daisy. He still managed to hit it though, that's the most important thing. Sure, he managed to clean up too though, while Tuba was making Arndts look silly. The rest of his team unfortunately goes down, and Shock now pushing on to second point. I want to see if they can make it. They still have Stitch's Bob, but Tuba might have to throw himself in there to try and create a bit of space for the tanks to move up.
Washington has everything, and this is a fight that you want to take if it looks at all winnable, because this is the most important defensive point to hold on Kings Row.
Here it is, Tuba almost 300 HP with all the armor building up, and now he has the Dragon Blade. Bob's going to get sent in as well by Stitch to try and defend
just
off for the time being.
San Francisco wanted to see if they could get that for free, but now they're going to disengage, wait for some of these ults to burn out.
Close the window, so another one to force them all the way back. Pulse bomb at the back line. Doesn't quite find anybody, but it actually damages Jandu a little bit too much there, and Striker, once again on the flank, was able to finish him off. Tuba still has the blade, along with that supercharger going down, so now's the perfect time to pop it. He ends up getting dragged back down to the floor, but that's exactly where he wanted to be. Striker ends up going down, and now Choi is isolated. Finish off with the Dynamite and help with the Dragon Blade. And the Shock are going to be forced to go back here. As Arndts does find another pick. Actually, maybe they're not done just yet, because Arndts is taking over the game. That's 1-2 picks now for him. The tanks are now alone on the point. Ark's going to fall as well. How did he hit that shot? I just don't know. Violet matched the kill onto Raw 2. Somehow, some way, Arndts finds a crucial pick to turn that fight.
That's not even what I was saying how about, because I've given up trying to explain logically how Arndts hits his shots. I have no idea how Smurf lived there. He was dead to me, and somehow they kept him alive. It's just a testament to the healing and support that these tanks get up front. I heard an interesting anecdote about Arndts, or heard it, that he roughens up his mouse and mousepad with sandpaper.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what that does for you. Maybe it makes it less, well, it makes it less slidey, that is for sure.
Yeah. He likes the friction.
Tanks lifted up into the air. They're going to be okay though. Titanfield went down, but Arndts still finding the picks that they need. Tuba and Raw end up falling as that window was kind of perfectly placed. I mean, it looked like the Washington Justice were forcing themselves into this fight because they knew that Choi didn't have the flux available, so they were just kind of bundle on top of them, but they were punished for it. Arndts luckily escapes, narrowly as well, mind you. The Dynamite was ticking down rather swiftly. Stitch even swiftly ends up going down. AimGod to follow too. Stitch ends up sending the Bob though, luckily just in time, but Striker's going to deal with it rather easily. Now the Shock pushing on to the last point. 2 minutes and 37 seconds remains. Tuba does find one, and it's going to be Violet, so a lack of healing now available for the Shock. And spawn advantage for the Justice as well. It's going to take a miracle for them to actually cap at this point, so it's just going to be a reset now for Shock.
Yeah, Tuba did a really good job of getting to the back line and forcing a lot of attention onto him, and it forced that most of the healing was not able to go into Choi, and he found himself turning around looking for his teammates, ends up just finding 4 members of the Washington Justice. Now Washington Justice have to play back, you have to play behind shields. I mean, most of the Widows in the Overwatch League you want to respect by not peeking, but this is almost a special case.
Do a little bit of ult tracking. I mean, AimGod's got the window while he's dead. They don't have window anymore, and they don't have many other people left. The supercharger did go down, and Tuba's pulling the blade, strikes in the back line with the blade of his own, in fact, but I don't think he's going to be able to find too many people to kill. Tuba pulls a blade of his own, but he's already cut down before he can get a kill. And the Shock, they're going to net that last point. Got a bit of extra time in the bank as well. 1 minute and 39 seconds. It looked good going in onto the third point, but Justice still managed to hold off. Not a bad time if you're the Justice to hold the Shock 4. There is a definite win condition there. It's just Arndts carrying that second point so hard. I think it must have been what, a 3 or a 4v6 almost. It was just absurd.
It was close
but that's
to that,
what you
yeah.
really need in your Widow player to hit shots like that.
And Smurf was down to about 10% HP at best, and he had a Genji staring him right in the face. Then Ons just goes off. It's that kind of X factor, which is why San Francisco it's very difficult to call fights that you think they're losing, because even if you think they're losing, I'm not really certain that they are, because you can just get those enormous plays out of your Widowmaker. And this time, Ons is going to opt for the, well, he's still not out of spawn yet. He's probably bargaining with his team. Can I play it?
Please.
Well, he's going to telly them. Yeah, because they want to take top here. It's a lot easier than walking all the way around.
Well, it goes back to the stats as well, right? The the team fight.
Yeah, that's what saved Smurf. Well, I mean, he was getting healthy at that point, but
How do you hit that headshot? There's just so many people on top of each other. It's just
yeah. So,
absurd.
so the anecdote I was talking about came from Super. He was talking in a companion stream about it, and so this could possibly be untrue, and Super's just trying to get thousands of people to start sandpapering their mouse and mousepad. But I mean, like, I'm the opposite. I always go for as smooth as possible, like buying third market, I think they're called skates for your mouse, and just have these mouse pads. But hey, whatever works for you is pretty much always the answer when people talk about equipment and sensitivity. It's like, find something that works for you, whatever's comfortable. And apparently, Ons likes a very rough surface, very likely for micro adjustments, so you're not over adjusting.
Can you get soap shoes for your mouse as well? I wonder. Tuba's now on the
Skating
flank.
across the room.
Trying to dislodge Arns' position, but well, you know, Arns just being Arns is going to take out Stitch rather easily. It's a big flank going on for Shock. It's like they knew, obviously they knew Tube was there because they saw him dash, so they kind of recognized it and was able to kind of push forward with 2 DPS versus the single in Stitch. Big rotation once again from the Justice, moving through this hotel. It's going to be up to Tuba here to take advantage of this and actually get some shuriken damage on the backfield of that blade. Arns ends up falling over though. Rock through the window, I believe that was, to take him out. Striker has Pulse Bomb. Can he land the connection? He does indeed on the back of the brig. Ark ends up falling, but will it matter? Because Violet is now down for the Shock. I don't think it will in the end. Sad to say if you're the Shock, yeah, there's not enough healing at all with only the brig alive, and you know, Twilight goes down there as well, so good first push here for the Justice. They do manage to cap the first point.
And the Justice have become a little bit of a more patient team, and sometimes that's to teams' detriments, but in this case, I really felt that Tuba was just jumping around up top, maybe was going to get tired of it and try to exploit the position that the Shock were in while the rest of his team was trapped in the hotel, but they wait for the perfect time, they wait for the perfect pick, which ends up being the opening pick from Janu, the beautiful accretion, and then they don't have to worry about Ons, the long range, and rotate him out.
They're going to be able to hold fairly close. I feel like they want to push out a little bit here, or let the Justice push out a little bit so Strike can get behind them. Tuba and the rest of the team are saved with the Immortality Field. Tuba with the Blade. They're going to combo with the Supercharge. Of course they are. There's the Holt as well, dragging everybody in. The Tuba gets sent down as well by the Shock, but it's instantly killed by Tuba. Reset after resets. Cuts them all to bits. And the Justice now moving on with a ton of ults also towards this second point. This might look, it's going to look rather rough for the Shock. They're going to have to rely on really Arns clicking their heads through this window because Stitch has Bob, they've got a window of their own, but most importantly, Janu is able to save that Flux for this fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the jackpot you're looking for, a Supercharger Blade, and they just pull it off.
There's the Hulk, there's the Flux. Immerfield's down. Tuba getting so much damage. You see how aggressive he's playing. A little bit too much. The front line of the Shock. As Joy ends up taking him out. Punished him. Now that they take control of the payload, Striker is just on top of your tank. Please, someone pay attention to him. But the rally arm is going to be good enough for Striker to not really find this instant one clip or these final blows that Shock are trying to set him up for. Bob's going to come through as well for Stitch, but he's going to need healing at some point. Showing narrowly dodging the suck there to get out of the way just in time. He's putting up to a Flux of his own as well. All they have to do is play out for a little bit longer here, and they're going to be a tank ult advantage. Striker's still doing just a ton of damage in the back line. Immortality Field might just save them. Arc was so close to falling, and now everybody's on fire too. This is Striker's playground now. All he needs to do is just finish him off. That's exactly what he's going to do. Those Hyperspheres from Choi as well. Just doing so much work in the front line. Just the damage, on top of that, on top of the dynamite and the burn damage, no Immortality Field, there's no way you're surviving that.
No, and it's the worst points to not capture as an offense. That's why you see so much commitment going in from everybody just to get the respawns and it's not be a mile away. And San Francisco is the kind of team that might just start regaining territory here, trying to push through. They're not going to push all the way through choke because that opens you up to a back cap, especially from Tuba, who can take some strange angles that you're not exactly predicting. Heart's not far away enough to feel okay about it, so gonna get a little damage there. But Kings Row Streets is always about 1, 2, 3 corners. You could always fall back for as a defense. Do they see each other?
They don't.
Yeah.
They have no idea. Well, they do know now. Striker's still trying to look for an opening. Ooh. Tuba hit him with a right click there. Doesn't manage to get the dash off. Would have killed him if he melee 2, but the dash didn't connect to the recall. He was just in time. Now they're waiting for the supercharger. It's just come online for the Justice. They can use the blades once again. Rally armor not available, but Striker double kill with a pulse bomb to halt the offense now for the Justice.
Yeah, with this really far spawn, I mean, you can't get staggered out here either. It's going to be really tough. With this far spawn, that last fight took about 1 minute and 15 seconds. So you have to imagine this is the Washington Justice last fight. They were trying to play it patiently there so they could get in and use the combination that has won them so many fights in the Supercharger and the Dragon Blade. Justice with a bevy of ultimates. Their war chest is full. Can they convert it? San Francisco is only going to have the rally, but San Francisco has a lot of ground to give. Striker's got to be careful, though.
Oh, yeah, now he's on fire, too.
There's not even
Might
really
be able
hacks
to
over here.
Get there. Yeah, I can see the armor pack being thrown as well as those little right clicks from the bat. Superchargers, I'm looking for that tick. I'm looking for it to go down. They do manage to kill Choi on the side, so actually now I just want to win out with a war of attrition through these shields. That's exactly what they're going to do. Tuba can play super aggro as well because he has that armor pack landing on him, and Stitch finds another one. So, in fact, just that single pick just resulted them in not needing to use that combo.
This Justice team, this particular roster that has been so retooled over the year, has been so much better about ultimate economy. Early in the year, the Justice used to just throw everything in and then maybe rely on raw mechanics in the neutral. But the Justice are able to win that fight just with some basic abilities. They get the rally off, of course, but they also force out a rally, so fair trade. They still have their big win condition of the Supercharger blades.
Supercharger, there's the blade. Ark's already dead, but it might not matter. Tuba needs to find people. He got the immortality field as well on top of him. Oh my word, so many resources piled into Tuba to make sure he can succeed. A perfect right click to finish off Arns as well. A good time for the Justice now as they move on to this third point. Shot can contest and they have Flux.
It's a Genji meta, and I'm actually a little surprised that San Francisco's not trying to maybe make some changes around it. You know exactly the pitch that Washington's going to throw at you. Flux goes onto the cart, but Violet down early. It's brutal.
Arns is going to jump on the Widowmaker and find 2. Both tanks are already falling. Spawn advantage for the Shock as well. They should just be able to hold at this point. How does Arns do it? Switch to Widowmaker for half a second. Insta-kills both tanks. Choi will fall though, and Twilight is going to match them, and Arns finds yet another kill, and now he's getting jumped on by both DPS. Tuba just eventually finishes him off. It's so close to being finished, the payload actually launching into the third point, but Striker manages at the very end kill Tuba. It was 1 meter away.
Yeah.
You got to think if they just bundled onto the point, they might have been able to get it, but it was too little too late. And now with only 50 seconds remaining, they need to cap now, or, well, with time, or they're going to grant Shock a free attack.
Well, they should have a blade going on during this next fight. They should be able to get it. Bob can stall long enough. It's just, how do you deal with Ants? They had to send 2 after him next time. That's already a victory for San Francisco.
Oh. Now Aim God said, Bob's going to get sent out by Stage. This is the last ditch attempt to actually get the point in with time available, but Ark's still sitting in the back line. There's one reset for Tuba. Can he find another one? No, he cannot. He gets taken out by Violet. The damage might have already been done, though. They are contesting the payload, and Stitch is left to do basically whatever he wants. A dynamite on point is going to help finish off Arns. 10 seconds now remains for the Justice to net this point in. 9-8. They need to be able to clear off people, but it's too many on the point. They only need this OT. Smurf is eventually finished off, and there is the OT. The Shocker granted a free attack if the Justice cap. The ball is on the field, and Twilight comes out with a rally and a double kill on the Brig. They don't even need the free attack because Shock are going to win it here. 2-0 now up in the series against the Justice.
Look, I do kind of want to recant my snowball's chance in hell thing. Apparently, it's getting a little cooler down there because the Washington Justice looked like a team that could take a shot at San Francisco. I mean, a lot of it is because they're running the Genji, whereas San Francisco is running the Widowmaker. And even as good as Ans is, that Genji wins fights alone. And when you combo it with a Supercharger, you're getting 4 and 5 kills. That's what Ark was talking about. That's the chance that the Washington Justice have against the Shock. I was very skeptical after Ilios, but that was San Francisco's map pick. Washington obviously had a plan here. I don't know. No, I don't see it. All right, I'm lying to myself. I'm deluding myself just because I want to see more good Overwatch. Washington Justice much improved. Even if they get bounced early from this tournament, watch out for next Washington Justice. I don't think they'll be a 13 seed again.
You never know. The reverse sweep is still possible. The Justice now, once again, in a situation where their backs are up against the wall, Hex. We'll have to wait and see how this next one goes down. Is their map pick after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League, and by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. Welcome to our game break presented by Cheez It Grooves, Zoe Costa and Reinforce at your service. And I'm very happy to inform you that we now have a 2-0 score for once for halftime.
We broke the streak.
We broke it. We broke the streak. Let's talk about this game though. I mean, coming into Ilios' first map here, I just can't help but say it. It looks so easy. How can San Francisco Shock make it look so easy all the time, Reinforce?
You know, yeah, I mean, you're right, Zoe. It's so hard to explain really what is going on in this match, because I thought to myself, like, how do I put into words how dominant the San Francisco Shock are? Like, how do I explain to the viewers at home what makes them this good? Because it's easy to say just like, well, you know, they're better players, their individual skill is just so good, but like, what makes them as a team so dominant? And I think the best analogy I can really give is that it's like playing speed chess against an AI. It's just like they make decisions way faster than you. They know everything in advance. So by the time you figured out your move, they already know what their action will be to respond to that. And like when I go into ranked and I play like, okay, yeah, I'm Grandmaster, you know, I can play my Reinhardt and I got a pretty good game and I know what to do. I know what decisions to make. But the San Francisco Shock, they make it so much faster. So even when I do my actions, when I do my charge, or when I use my shield to block, they're already like way ahead of me, to the point where they just beat me down. And that is what happened on Ilios here. You saw the San Francisco Shock. They just ran over the Washington Justice. They just applied so much pressure. So the Washington Justice, they had a game plan like, hey, we're going to play around Tuba. We're going to make Genji work. But by the time they get value from it, like the San Francisco Shock are just up in their grill and they're not allowing it to happen. Violet was just having a field day on the Baptiste, just laying in so much damage. 10 final blows as Baptiste on Ilios. Like, it's absurd. So, like, the Washington Justice, they're not even allowed to play their own game. It's ridiculous.
I mean, yes to all of that.
No,
I agree though. It's a common theme for the San Francisco Shock to always look like they're one step ahead of the opposition. Now, when we headed on to King's Row, did it look a little better for the Justice? What do you think, Costa?
Yeah, I think you can definitely say look better. I wouldn't say that's 100% the game plan of, you know, the Justice finally working. It's more that this is a much more Genji-favored map. You know, Tracer isn't really good on this map because it's really hard to get value, especially with the buffs to Genji. And you sort of saw the Shock not be able to overwhelm the Justice like Johnny was just talking about, especially on their offense. They were able to get their setups, they were able to get their forwards, and Two was able to get those blades and get a lot of value from them. And that's why they almost finished the map. The thing that Shock showed, that they just win fights. They have no right winning. At the very end of that map, I don't even know how Shock brought it back. They're like stalling the clock so that it would hit 0 so that there wouldn't be an overtime push for the Justice. And then somehow they go on to win that fight. They just, all the time, Ansan had a 4K at the end of the second point that we're going to look at in a second, that they just had no right winning. And that's what the Shock do. They are just so good as a team and individually that they just win things that no other team can win.
Yeah, it just seems to me that Striker cares not for your map meta analysis and just goes Tracer anyway. And they make it work for some odd reason. Now, let's actually take a look at that crunch time you just mentioned, presented by Cheese Groose, of course. Walk us through this Ans highlight reel.
So, this is Ans sitting in the background, and this is a 4v6, I believe, at this point for the San Francisco Shock at the end of the second point. Everyone assumes it's over. We have Smurf on 1 health, literally 1 health, like dancing around on the cart. And then Ansan is just sitting in the back, gets 1, gets 2, and then as soon as he gets those picks, you see the coordination by Shock. They all commit, walk forward, take the space, and Ans just gets even more space to keep shooting, gets another pick, and they end up getting that point. There are not many teams that can pull this off and accomplish this. Off the back of Ans is just incredible Widow play, and also the coordination to, you know, take the opportunity to win that fight.
Yeah, this is just straight up ridiculous. And I mean, Ans has been one of those surprising players this season that just brings his mechanical skill into the game and just stuns teams, and this was one of those moments. So incredibly impressive by Ans.
Now, of course, the Washington Justice get to pick the next map, and they opted for Anubis. Is this one of those, we're just going to put all of our eggs, and I guess chickens also, into the Tuba Genji basket?
They're throwing the kitchen sink in there as well. Like, this is the Genji map. This is going to be 100% built on Genji. The thing that I worry about for the Justice is we saw this in the APAC region yesterday in the Seoul match. Teams can go Mei, and it does shut down the Genji's ability to move around and the rest of the team's ability to move around. We do have Rascal coming into the lineup as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if Rascal comes in. They could just go, hey, whatever you can do, we can do better, and Rascal play Genji, but I can also see them just going Mei and shutting it down that way.
Well, let's see if they can bring it back in our second half. So once again, let's head straight into all the action. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, the Justice. They have a chance. We're going on to the next map pick. Temple of Anubis. The Shock 2-0 up in the series. However, Arns is looking clean. Choi is looking clean. Violet's looking clean. They're all looking pretty clean, okay? They are the Shock. They are probably one of the greatest teams of all time at this current, in its current iteration. They have superstars on the bench. They got a superstar roster fielded every single week. But the Justice, they have been looking good week after week, and the improvement is steadily getting there. And in fact, we talked a little bit about it during the end of that under that map hex. Is that Ultimate Economy game was pretty weak, in fact, a few weeks ago. But now it's actually looking pretty good, and you could see the different levels of the different. What am I trying to say? You know, the different. They're good now. Good old economy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Don't use a long word when a short one will do. Yeah. Okay. But we do have a sub coming in for San Francisco. We talk so much about this roster. I mean, if you want to just get mad, look at the people that they lost during this year, then still look at the roster they have. So we do have a substitution. It's going to be Striker coming out, and Rascal Master of all trades going to be coming in, as we will move to Temple of Anubis. It's Washington's map pick, as that is the format. Loser picks map here. Washington, it's actually a very good assault map for them. I believe they're 4-1 on it. And San Francisco Shock, data not found. They've not played Temple of Anubis in this Overwatch League season, which I had to double check to make sure. But you don't want to take San Francisco to Hanamura, which has been a very popular map in this tournament, because they are undefeated on that map, 5-0. So this is Washington's best shot to steal a map. We're kind of theorizing, why are you bringing in Rascal now? Probably not going to run Tracer, so maybe that's why Striker's out. Rascal, we mentioned, can play everything. He is on the damage roll, just to clarify, because he can sometimes play support. Thinking maybe Torb, maybe May. I mean, it's Temple of Anubis. Both can work out here.
Yeah, the Torb would make a whole lot of sense. Just an added check for Tuba. You've got to check Arns, and then you also have to check the other DPS, whoever it is that's going to get subbed in. Yeah, I think the Torb would make the most sense. We've seen it a fair bit recently. Anubis is a pretty good map for it.
It's probably going to be both. Like May on offense to get into room and go with left side, wait for the wall, cool down again, and then Torb on defense to put a turret on the stairs to check the Genji. That's my guess. And luckily, Rascal is really good at both those heroes.
Yeah, good at pretty much everything. It's really cool to see Rascal when he's in on DPS, and then they can just swap him in for the support role as well.
That's what happened against Philly, I believe. We're like, oh, we have 2 subs, but technically only 1 because Rascal's staying in. He's just going to play the support role. San Francisco's done that with a couple of different players that they've had. Architect on Ana early in the year comes into it. Of course, no longer on the San Francisco Shock. That's how embarrassingly deep this roster is. San Francisco will be on the defense first, and it's going to be a May on the defense. Okay, I'm okay with it.
I'm very okay with this. May on the defense can be fairly treacherous, especially as the meta currently is everybody going through the mega health pack room off onto the right hand side here, and the May is very good at either walling them in when they actually come into the come on top of the platform, or you can kind of aggressively push in and then wall people out of the mega room, and then you can take over it from there. But we'll see where Justice want to go and what they're going to roll out with 2, because Arns is actually on the Ashe instead. Again, pretty good. I mean, people are going to be clumped up in that room, so it makes sense. The Widowmaker a little less valuable. Oh, just okay.
Nah, Arns,
3 times Stitch out of Sport.
Nah, you can't do that. That is supposed to be in the Widow's favor.
And then Stitch switches like, nope, I ain't doing it. Not happening.
So knowing San Francisco, I think that they were probably going to look for an aggressive wall if they end up getting people in there, but this is exactly what we're supposed to do, cut them off halfway. But with the changes to the wall and the pillars, Washington's going to have no time breaking that through. Then Washington, you kind of want to be able to push in here, but now San Francisco taking the aggressive posture, waiting for someone to come in, daring people to come in.
You see Arns took a headshot there. Of course, Stitch is going to be down below to throw in those dynamites at the retreating members of the San Francisco Shock. It's going to be up to Arns to kind of check in. Tuba's now actually swapped plays with him almost. He's in the back line now. He's on fire, so has to escape rather quickly. A no-scoped in shot on Tuba's head. And Tuba goes down. So a lot of their damage being lost. Oh, that dynamite through the window too. That is a whole lot of damage. That's a free double kill, and that's a free Bob also versus Stitch in the 1v1. Oh, he's got armor too. And did you see Twilight launching himself at the front? Oh! What the? He's missed time in these by like 2 frames.
Hey, Tuba's got 2 headshots. Tuba's got 2 headshots on Arns. Even when Arns misses, he hits headshots.
So clean.
That's a nice play. Now they don't have to worry about sightlines at all. And yeah, that blade is getting there. It is. You really want to get this blade before Arns is able to come back.
Yeah, you can hear him now. He's going to try to take the 1v1. Already has used the deflect and has control of this mega pack as well. Oh, Tuba actually just gets walled off. Oh no! Oh no! Someone help him! Someone help Tuba. Oh, we got out just in time. That was close. Oh my word. He has got the blade almost. He's so low though. He needs healing. Johnny's going to use that flux to relieve some of that pressure. Both bombs have been launched onto the field too, and it's a battle of the ashes. Tuba still has the blade if he really needs it, but he shouldn't do at this point. He's able to clean up Choi. A little bit of time as well. There you go, there's 1 tick, and that should be the first point unlocked. It was a battle of the ashes as both Tuba and Rascal were having a little duel in the background.
Yeah, I mean, the Bobs went off for both teams, but Rascal with that super aggressive chase on the Tuba, you lose so much of your utility up front and being able to wall off tanks, and then the San Francisco tank line kind of just got rolled in on. You don't have the crowd control that the May offers for that front line, so maybe a little too aggressive chasing down Tuba, knowing that that's Washington's pitch, is that they're going to win matches with Tuba. Tuba does have Blade, but there is a Blizzard at the ready here. Blizzard can completely shut down fights on this point.
Especially since Tuba doesn't have damage resistance either. He's only got that armor stacking up. Supercharger can come out from Raw as well. They're setting up, but it might just be a small retreat here unless they can find another kill. No, Janu ends up going down. Tuba is going to go for the miracle pick, but defender spawns are pretty good on Anubis. So
you consider it. Well, you consider it when you lose one that if you get a couple more, that Hans can be able to come back and he's going to stay in the back anyway and just try to hit long-range shots. Or excuse me, Stitch can come back and hit long-range shots. But when you lose two, there's almost no reason to push in. They got a healthy 3:30 on the clock, does the Washington Justice. They really want to get in position to use Supercharger and Blade together. And Supercharger has an absurd range, but you'd have to think that Washington maybe wants to get closer to the point before they pop that combo.
Window to force the shot back. Trying to hold people into the window. That's exactly what's happened. Yeah, Twilight's going to go down. He had the rally up to him as well. Now Smurf trying to stem the bleeding once again. Blade's going to come through. Insta Blizzard, you saw it. Tuba now has to get out of there rather fast. Bob's going to get sent out too. And it should just be the cleanup. Everybody's trapped behind this wall. The healers are on the top side of it, but Bob is refusing to move. So there is absolutely no way that Aim God could play aggro there on the BAP. And even Rascal taking a nasty little flank there, taking out Arc at the very end.
Super long-range headshot. He ice blocks and try to put out Twilight. That's not how that works.
Imagine if it did though. That'd be kind of.
Yeah, because May needs more utility. Everyone's been saying
that. No. Don't erase that part from the VOD. Everybody, no one listens to that. No one clicked that. That was. I didn't mean to say that. No. Okay.
Well, Twilight does have his rally up, so another great defensive ultimate here for San Francisco. Washington can push in here with a Flux and a rally of their own if they're a little bit patient. The rally does come off from Twilight immediately as San Francisco tries to get aggressive on the defense.
Yeah, so back off once again. Paying so much respect to that rally, but you really have to. I mean, that armor stacking is just absurd.
Well, now Washington can go in with it, though. Yeah, Washington can go in and have the armor advantage. Beautiful wall, though.
Not anymore.
Rascal.
Another stagger. One by one. The Justice are falling. It's still very winnable. Tuba does end up falling down, but look at the ults coming online for this next fight. Again, the only issue is that Rascal, he's playing the May and he has the Blizzard again, so Tuba's Blade's going to be rather useless.
But Washington didn't throw good after bad there, at the very least. They still have armor up, which is the really important engagement here. If they can just rally in, they're going to have a huge health pool advantage to be able to go through. And during that fight, you'd have to imagine Tuba gets to his Blade. Unfortunately, it's going to be a pretty naked Blade. But I think Blade and Bob can work out well. As everyone turns their attention to Bob, you just send the Blade in.
Yeah, one ends up going down. Bob's going to get halted actually by Smurf. That was super sick.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Gets owned in the front line though. You saw him get blasted away, and now Tuba has the Blade at the ready. But it takes out two though. Well, the Bob won't be in one of them, but it's still good enough. The Flux up in the air onto Tuba. Immortality Field's going to save them for the time being, but Choi's ult actually gets interrupted. And Tuba kills 3 people in the small room on the side, and Washington Justice now flooding onto the point. 2 ticks have been gained. 1 more to go. The shotgun going to come back on the Wrecking Ball to stall for some additional time. Park killing off Rascal, one of the most annoying people to actually get off the point in the Tracer, as they do manage to complete round number 1 with 2 points on the board and 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It just feels so reminiscent of King's Row, though. I just don't want to happen. I just don't want it to happen again. It's just
don't do that. Don't
almost
give me
Yeah, like a nightmare scenario, right, where you end up completing and your team feels really good, right? You're like, oh god, we actually completed. This team's really good. We're playing against like a sick Widowmaker or whatever. And then you go into the next round and they kind of roll you and you're like, oh, our 30 seconds like pales in comparison to their 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's always that mental hurdle that you kind of have to overcome. But I think every team at this point should be prepared for that when they play the Shock.
It was cool on the defense what Smurf did. He stands right in front of the Bob. I think he halted and fortified to make sure the Bob doesn't get into their back lines, which is nice. But that unfortunately puts him out of position and opens him up, that he ends up eating a dynamite and just gets deleted. Yeah, you maybe could have touched there, and when you're San Francisco and you have one person alive, you still feel winnable, but it was a 1v6 and overtime spawns. I still see Washington was probably going to win that one. We should see what San Francisco wants to run on offense. Rascal on May makes a ton of sense. The May with the entry point. And I don't think we really need to look at Washington's compositions really the rest of the day. They're going to run this.
Yeah, this and only this, I feel. Unless Stitch wants to go back on the Widow again, but...
Yeah, for a little bit, but I don't think you really... Yeah, it's been fine. Yeah. I mean, if you go on the Widow, you're almost forcing Ants on the Widow, and I just think that's a bad call.
Yeah. You play Ashe, I play Ashe. Gentleman's agreement. Rascal was on the mate again, so it's going to be a left side push, I can imagine. No shenanigans. Oh, Dynamite actually hit above Ants. Oh, yeah, he kind of realised that. Just gets taken up by Stitch at the end. You got to be so careful with that point. I remember too many times have I died as a support, going ever so slightly late. Good tanks as well will save the grab, the halt from the Orisa, and it's only like a support or a DPS left.
These two are going to go camp.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to kill it. Yeah, Arnson knows exactly where he is. I think. I don't know, actually. Arnson, oh, that definitely does now, because Stupid did reveal himself, but he's keeping Arnson from actually joining the rest of his team, which is pretty good. Dynamite's going to get thrown in as well to try and deal damage in the background. That actually forces out Immortality build. Good thing for Tuba. He's going to be able to take that out rather easily, but narrowly escapes with his life. Still building up towards this blade, but Washington Justice, their Immortality field also got forced out. You can see how low people are going. In fact, Jana gets stunned in the front line. Nowhere near his healers. Actually got split off. They're trying to triage their wounds now as the Bob is going to get sent out as well underneath this stairwell. But with Arns on the high ground coming off Arc. And even the Bob going down, this is all going to be on to Rascal now to try and find a little something. He's got the Blizzard online, but if he's patient enough and the rest of Shock are too, they might be able to save this for the second point. Rascal now forcing out a maneuver from the Justice. The Blizzard in the background though, there you go, they're all forced away. This should be a one-team fight here if they can kill this Immortality field in time. Yep, the wall's going to help secure the kill onto Raw. And a tick and then some for the Shock now, but Stitch is still finding the kills. But he's going to have a tough time actually getting back into the fight, Tex.
This one is still getting really scrappy. Washington has a great position on the high ground here.
Tuba has played. Well, he's 2% away. Does he just pull it now? That's the question. He's already half HP. Majano's going down so low. If you blow it here, you have to get at least 2-3 people, otherwise it's not worth it. There you go. Yeah, he ends up saving it in the end. Knows the win condition for the next fight is going to be his blade or this window coming up rather soon.
Rascal is just so good, and it's not just about all the things that he does, just his aim. The amount of icicles he was hitting on people before and after the Blizzard were just nuts. He's already at 50% to another Blizzard. San Francisco can open with a window if they want, just to crack some shields.
Oh, we got hit up by the wall. Immortality Field, he has to get through that as well. He's going to dash straight in. Janu finds two already, though. Oh, Tuba's damage. Was only aided by Janu just spamming left click in that small corridor. That was a really nice setup too by the Justice. You see, Raw was hiding on that pillar where the boxes are, jumped down, fortified, and then halted everybody in to make sure Tuba could get maximum value out of every single slash. It was only the wall from Rascal that stopped a lot of that damage going through initially, at least.
I feel we saw that exact same clip from Tuba yesterday in that room, just going nuts onto people. And also good for Washington to only use the couple of ultimates there. And, I mean, even like Janu was going to have his ultimate up here. They really just used Blade to win that fight for the most part. Get the value out of it. San Francisco is banking on getting the Blizzard up during this fight. Blizzard is their condition.
Yeah, they're going to get it at 4%. There's no way, just passively. Oh, Stitch tries to coach get away, but it's rather unsuccessful in his endeavor. And now Rascal can kind of sit on the point and say, come at me, Justice, as I have the Blizzard. He goes to the flank in the end. Oh, he gets stunned out of it, though! Janu lands the perfect rock! Destroys Rascal's snowball. Both literally and figuratively, the actual snowball and the snowball onto the second point. Another Shock lose. Not only that ult, they use the Bob in that fight as well. The Shock have a lot of time left, mind you, but look at the ults coming online for the Justice now. Bob and the Blade.
San Francisco can come in with Rally, but that is all they have left. There's so much talk about this Washington team when they started acquiring players of the former Vancouver Titans, and they were still struggling. And Janu specifically was still struggling. Stitch was having mediocre performances. Where people were asking, were they only good when they were surrounded by other players? And I think it just took them a little bit of time. I've been so impressed with Janu's play over this last couple of days, the knockout tournament.
There's the blade. The Hulk's going to come in rather soon. Hans just dashing straight the way back. Someone's Ark's in the back line. He's flanking on the brick. And so is Stitch, mind you, trying to kill people as they exit the blade area. It's a big halt, and the Widow's definitely going to help them force them onto this point, but Janu's going to hold them in their tracks for the time being with the Flux. No one going down just yet, and Stitch still holding onto his Bob. Again, it's coming down to Rascal's Blizzard at this point. Ark ends up falling over, so now it's Aim God and Stitch trying to keep this fight alive with the Window 2. Now Shock are really putting pedal to the metal as they do force themselves on the point and making sure they can get an adequate space for Rascal to actually build up this ult charge, but Violet and Smurf end up going down as Choi isolates himself in the back lines. He's got the Flux, but this is definitely a go next. You want to save this one, Choi. In fact, he's just going to go for it as he knows Arns is popping off at the side. Stitch and Jono are going to go down. The Bob is also doing a whole bunch of damage, but Chuba's able to actually kill off Arns. It's Blizzard in the front line too. Regardless of how many people are dead, Shock still think this is winnable. Ark and Stitch end up coming back and claim kills of their own, and Tuba eventually finishes off Choi. They used so much in that fight because they thought it was winnable, but at the end of it all, it was definitely not. The spawn advantage did lay in the favor of Justice.
It always feels good to get a mega packet. One, never mind. I guess Violet had different plans. Yeah, San Francisco really committed to that when most teams, pretty much 19 other teams I know, would not have committed to that. You gotta wonder if they're being punished for their hubris. Pride comes before the fall.
That was rather nasty. The Hulk's already gone out, the Supercharger out too. Tuba's going to have to play this one rather careful. He's going to have to slash the Supercharger or he might just go down. He's on fire right now, only just in time. You get that armor pack, that cookie sent out by Ark, but he pays for it with his life. 2 ticks on the board for the Shock, the Window on the point. Stitch finds one, but it isn't going to be enough. Violet doesn't have the Immortality field. Janu comes back with a little bit of revenge, but Choi is definitely our boy. Kills off Janu and Raw almost instantly as they do flood back onto the point. Too many shields to deal with. And the Justice aren't able to defend, but burn so much time off their time bank, and they net themselves a minute for the next push. But so do the Justice. So equal footing now going into these final few rounds.
And a 1-minute scenario, you would think that San Francisco would have the minor edge just because it's mostly going to be a neutral fight here, meaning no ultimates being available in this fight. But if Washington get on the point, I mean, you can theoretically... I mean, Pulse Bomb gets there in like 1:10 usually. Can you get a Blade in a minute and 10 if you can get on overtime? That's a good question. We're going to have to see. Hans is going to open up on the Widow, goes for the grapple shots, and San Francisco not going to change much. And as I said, Washington don't really have to even look at their composition. This is what they want to run.
Time and time again.
This is a lot closer than I thought it'd be. Like, dead honest. I thought we'd be on to the next set by now. I'm actually very impressed with Washington. Washington's putting up a better fight against San Francisco than Philadelphia did.
I'm telling you, Hanks. There's a chance.
I'm believing you, Jaws.
There's a chance. There's 1 minute on the clock, baby. We're not out of this just yet. Neither are the Shock, though, to be fair. Arn's going for the grapple shot. Can he find anything? Kind of curious where he wants to grapple, because I will steal this tech from him and use it in my own games. Oh, it looks like he might be actually staying on this Widow. He isn't going to go for the grapple shot at all. Nice little flick there. He's actually just going to play... Going to make it for the time being. Yeah, putting down the Venomine just signals to me, yeah, he's definitely going to play this. We spoke about it before, but Stitch really doesn't want to go for this 1v1. Now he's going for the shot. Whoops, Daisy, he missed. There we go. I love how we're sticking on this pick, by the way. Yeah, don't want to kill yourself again. He's so scared of his deflect. It's 2 deflect kills, by the way, for Tuba on Arns. Rascal is doing a lot of checking here, but it's going to be up to Tuba to deal with the Arns in the back line. And look how much space is granted to the Shock as well.
These icicles, though.
They're walled off the point. They need to get on.
Come in.
They need to be able to destroy these pillars ASAP. They've granted so much space to the Shock, they're so scared of Rascal on this May. A pincer attack on the sidelines as there is one person up on the high ground, in fact 2. Arns ends up going down as well. DPS advantage for the Justice, but Raw falling, and Rascal actually in the back line, playing flanking May, has enabled them to actually pick up a kill on both tanks, or one tank even. There's still one available as Tuba just tries his darndest to keep himself alive on the point. Janu too is going to also find another kill, but Arns coming back from the spawn, kills not one, but two people. And Violet 2 taking to the high ground with those Exo boots. Shock are granted all the space in the world and are going to get granted this first point as well. 30 seconds added to the time back as they push on to second.
It's so difficult to account for in the middle of a fight, but you kind of have to have that timer in your head of when is this Widow coming back. Because Widow on that first point especially doesn't need to be anywhere near the point to be able to fight, so you can cut that spawn time and time to fight nearly in half, and that really cost them that they weren't prepared. It was scrappy anyway, so what are you really going to do against a Widow coming back? And also, Violet was able to take high ground, drop his own window, defend himself, and get a good push.
Stitch don't do it. Oh, Blade in the air. Tuba finds one, gets the reset as well. This might just be the hold right here for the Justice. Yeah, Tuba's found a third kill off the back of that Flux and the Blade. Hunters does find Aim God, but hey, he's not going to get to the point. Not as a Widowmaker, that is for sure. A stellar hold for the Justice on second. Very winnable now.
Yeah, but a 1 minute capture on First of Anubis, like pretty much you get one good fight and one scuffed fight if you're quick about it. But given how slow these teams have been to set up here for that very first fight, it is kind of do or die for the Washington Justice. You saw really no ults were coming online on that first point, even though how extended and brawly it was. So can the Justice get something done with just pure mechanics? I kind of want to put this one on Stitch. Can he win a duel with Ons early on? Because that's going to be the duel that you're going to get. Other than that, it's going to be 5v5.
We did initially find the kill. That was actually the first kill in that fight was Stitch onto Arns on the Widow. So normally you'd put that in Arns' favor. He's on the Widowmaker and he has a nice sight line, but Stitch did get the better of him in that situation. It's again going to have to be another one of those, please. I'll take two. I think it's so funny how we talked on the stats earlier on, Hex, about the amount of the team fight win rate whenever they go a first person down is second best in the league. It's just absurd.
36%. They win if they lose someone first. They win 36% of fights.
Okay, so it's going to be the Ash v Ash. Same comp, of course, as always. There was no way there was going to be changes. Although I was curious if the Arns would pick out the Widowmaker just to get that one shot, one kill potential, and then Justice would be on the back foot. But it's not going to happen. Oh, Shock playing super aggro, almost duped the Justice there as Stitch just throws the dynamite in, and we are pause. Unfortunately, kills two people off the back of it. That's a impressive start from the Justice. I'm kind of curious what happened. Oh, there's actually a ton of people.
It seems like everybody in San Francisco has left the game, including the coach. This is going to be a long pause. I'm going to prepare you right now because this is very likely a power outage, an internet outage, and we might have to reset the game. So if you are thirsty or hungry, not that you don't enjoy us speaking and enjoy the great side content we're going to put on the screen for you, now would be the time. I'm just letting you know, because when people DC like that in the middle of a map, it's going to be a bit of a long one. We've experienced this when Cruz got hit by Storm, and it just takes a little bit to reset the game, to get through League Ops, to figure out the rules, what are we going to set up here, because this was critical. I don't know if San Francisco died because of the DC right there. They were a little too far out anyway, but we're gonna have to go to referees. We're gonna have to go to officials. This is gonna take a second. Just being straight with you, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being straight with us, Alex. Yeah. This, everybody DCing at the same time is a little bit concerning, but it should be okay. And no worries, guys. You'll have to bear with us.
Yeah, it's gotta be power internet.
Yeah, surge. I don't know, power surge. I'm making out like I don't know what it is. I'm gonna be real with you. It could be the Cruise incident again, where the storm hit, but I doubt it because it's like a billion degrees here in LA at least.
Yeah, I was just looking outside. I'm like, no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty sunny right now.
San Francisco
We'll jump to a quick break. We'll be right back, guys. Don't go anywhere. Straight after this.
I have 3 tattoos over here. 1, 2, and 3 here. The first one is 노력하는 자에게 주어질 것이다 라는 파투의 이제 라틴어의 의미고요. 두 번째 여기는 이제 지도와 나침반인데 이제 이것의 의미는 제가 가고자 하는 길에 이제 의심을 두지 말라 라는 의미로 이제 타투를 하게 되었고, 마지막으로 이 세 번째 장미꽃인데요. 이제 이 꽃은 얼마나 힘들게 핀지 아직 아무도 모르기 때문에 그 꽃을 저도 한번 맺어보자 라는 의미로 타투를 하게 되었습니다. 레터링 할 것 같은데 뭐 제 삶에 대한 얘기를 좀 적지 않을까 싶어요.
This guy might be one of the best off-time players we've seen of all time.
He's a predator. What more can we say about Choi Ho-bin?
What a force to be reckoned with.
Choi Ho-bin, though, that's a big one.
This is gonna hurt. Self-destruct. Choi Ho-bin with the home run.
Coming in, but Choi Ho-bin is ready for it. He takes another one away.
Like Choi Ho-bin, this must be big. It's huge. That's what the shot needed again. He gets
That's it. Oh man, calling for it. Choi Ho-bin delivers.
Apparently, but Choi Ho-bin is there once again. Choi Ho-bin. Oh, this is nasty. Oh, say it ain't so. The humanity of it all, Choi Ho-bin.
Yeah. Well,
And
what you were saying
it does seem to be. We are
multiple
getting in.
tech
I was
issues.
muted. I apologize.
Multiple
that
tech
was my
issues
fault,
everywhere, including on Jaws' end. So yeah, we're just waiting for everything to get resolved. Out of our hands, sometimes there's a ghost in the machine. If you've ever built a computer, you know just how many, well, not moving parts, but how many little things can go wrong with it. The best feeling ever after you build a computer is hearing that first beep. Oh, it's like a heartbeat. It's beautiful, but it's so stressful. I once built a computer that I forgot to plug it in, and then I freaked out for an hour before I found my power cable. That just happens.
Okay.
Well, so
where are we going with this?
I don't know. I'm filling right now. We were told to fill. I'm going to fill with the dumbest stuff possible. But why don't we talk about Overwatch? What do you think about what happened today? Did you expect Defiant to come out and beat Atlanta? Atlanta's been on the rise. Defiant have looked good. I mean, what? Just give me your thoughts on that upset, because we have an 11 seed moving to the semis.
2 days worth of upsets. It's been kind of crazy. I believe there was
pretty much
one person, or maybe not anymore. I'm going to need to double check, but the last time I saw, Johnny tweeted out about the single person that is correct in their bracket predictions, and I'm not entirely sure if that's still 100% correct, maybe not, but let's have a look at the bracket. Of course, that's on your screen. 3-1 for the Paris Eternal. You'd expect them to win that over the Titans, but it was a little bit closer than people expected, but the closest game we've had all showdown, the Toronto versus the Reign. That came out of left field completely. Agility is back to his former self, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, that Paris team, Xe and Sparkle, that's just so frightening to look against. But Toronto, I mean, the meta suits them, right? You get Logics and you get Agilities going nuts. And Toronto is exceeding all expectations. Kind of throws a wrench in the plans of, like, people were anticipating San Francisco winning this match, obviously, and it's looking a little less certain than I think people are comfortable with. But then San Francisco playing Paris in a semi would have been sick. But now San Francisco, if they move on, they'll face the lowest seed, which would be the Toronto Defiant. So that's going to be a semi if it happens. But Washington's still on the upset potential. We're trying to figure out multiple tech issues, we've been informed, are happening at the San Francisco Shock team house. So it's not just one thing, it's many. So they're chasing down all those things, and we'll see exactly what we end up doing with the map system after that. Like I told you, it's a very complicated thing when something like this happens, especially the stakes that we're at here as we're in the quarterfinals. Winner gets to semis, and then you start getting into the bonus win territories, which a lot of these teams need.
Yeah, it does look like we're going to watch point though, and they can break down this game and this series a little bit more. We'll see in a bit.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Switch today and rank up to America's largest 5G network, T-Mobile. Welcome back once again. We're here to, bring joy, fill time, all the above. It's going to be great. Costa reinforced. We saw a little bit of Anubis happening, and we did indeed already think that this is probably going to be the pick where they're just going to put everything and its mothers into that tuba basket. It was a really weird sentence. So let's just move on from what I said and talk about Genji on Anubis.
It's worked. Sorry, Johnny. It's worked to some
I just
degree.
wanted to say you were right about the May.
Yeah, well, we saw it happen in the APAC region. I think because of how many chokes exist on Anubis, May gets a lot of value. As much as it doesn't deal with the Genji super well, the Blizzard's okay. If you can shut down the rest of the team and make it them not be able to move through the chokes, it's a really good asset. So I think that's why some people lean to the May. And I actually like the choice by the Shock. Don't try and beat Washington at their own game when you have a counter to what they're doing.
Yeah, I do like the Temple of Anubis pick overall. I think that the Washington Justice are handling this map pretty nicely. And, I mean, Jaws keeps saying that, you know, like, they have a chance, and they do actually have a chance. Like, if the San Francisco Shock, you get a bit too overconfident, maybe you can rely on the Tuba Genji, etc. And it all starts here on Temple of Anubis, where I think that the Washington Justice, they were able to work the angles properly, and they were able to take these fights and initiate the way they wanted to, whether it was Dragon Blades or Gravitic Fluxes, and they knew their limits as well. There were a few times where Tuba pulled out the Dragon Blade, and he didn't necessarily go all in. He was trying to stay alive for the majority of the time, and serve as a distraction and get value where he could. And so it was a pretty nice discipline from the Washington Justice overall, and it was pretty close down to the wire here now. So we'll see what happens when the San Francisco Shock inevitably comes back. I say inevitably like they are, but you know, who knows? It's the internet.
That is very true. I, in fact, also lost mine, but mine apparently came up a lot quicker than theirs. So here we are. I want to talk about the San Francisco Shock, though, and how they actually always win those games. I mean, it's pretty clear when you're watching any of their matches that they are the one team to dictate the tempo. They're the one initiating, disengaging. What does another team need to do to put a hold on that? Like, what's the move? What's the play?
Well, you need to be... We always talk about confidence and like initiation, right? Where teams need to have that. And with that comes a lot of pace to your own game. Like, are you willing to be the first team that pulls out an ultimate? Or are you willing to be the first team that uses an ability? And are you confident in your ability to do that in the right position, at the right time, etc.? Those kind of things. And that is what San Francisco Shock does so well, is that they're always able to be the first one on the trigger, or they're forcing their opponents into uncomfortable positions where the enemy team is not getting the most value from their ultimates or enough value from their abilities. And so the San Francisco Shock, they're always sort of like upping the tempo, and that's where you really force out mistakes from the enemy team. So that's really hard to deal with, and that is a large part of why the San Francisco Shock are so good, right? They're a great team, and with that they're able to up the pace of the game, and that's sort of what we talk about in some of these performances against the bottom teams.
I want to tag on to that as well, because that's the experience that, and that's what made Shock so good last season when they were in GOATS. It felt like whenever I played against them or practiced against them, you were always playing their game. It never felt like you ever had control. Even if you were taking the first initiative, they were ready for it, and they were controlled, and they always had a counter to it. That's what makes them so good. No one, like, I was trying to think back of, like, just do what this team did when they caught them off balance. What was the last time that Shock got caught off balance that wasn't like earlier in the season where the meta was just way up in the air? Like, it feels like when Shock has the time to work through issues and solve them and come in with their own strategy, nobody's ever been able to solve that problem. And there is a little bit of light here from the Justice with the Genji, but I don't see it working long term and consistently.
Yeah, I mean, even in the main Melee finals, remember how Rascal just pulled out a Torbjorn, and they were like, okay, well, we're just gonna fall back on the Torbjorn and sort of shut down Yaki's Tracer. And they did it so confidently and knew what they were doing that they weren't under a ton of pressure. Yeah, that game was really close, and credit to for Mayhem for bringing it so close. But the San Francisco Shock, it felt like they were in control of that matchup. So I second what you said, Costa.
I want to zoom out right here and actually look at a bigger picture in terms of compositions being played, the current meta. I felt like our casters touched on that as well during the Atlanta and Toronto series, that it is the team with a faster pace, with the quicker initiations and the more aggressive style, which is currently always coming out on top. Do you feel like there is any more passive teams which are currently seeing success in either of the two regions?
I mean, Shanghai are playing some Torbjorn, right? And they haven't really pulled out that Genji, so it certainly does work. It's a bit harder, you know, with the nature of this meta, I'd like to say. I would arguably say that the Florida Mayhem, they played rather passively in the melee, because we saw tracers like Shax, who is so fast as his tracer and so aggressive and likes getting these picks, while Yaki sort of prods away in the background and harasses the enemy team and then goes in for the final blows when BQB gets them low, right? So that's a different kind of playstyle compared to just going all in and overwhelming your opponent. So it is a bit viable, but especially with Genji in the mix, it's so hard to be the superior Genji if you're the second Genji in with your Dragon Blade, and like while your team is dying, you're like, oh well, you know, time to unleash my Dragon Blade 4v6 and win this fight. It's like it's just way harder. So this meta specifically caters to that faster playstyle, but we've seen teams like the New York Excelsior in 2018 slow things down. So it depends on what the meta is and what your preference is in terms of playstyle.
Yeah, well, I've just been told that the San Francisco Shock are back, so we hopefully get things
We didn't even get to
going.
talk about fruits! I had a fruit power ranking segment ready to go!
Ah, Johnny.
Why do we have all right, well, I'm sure there will be another opportunity. We still have one more game today as well, so I can't wait to hear all about it, question mark. For now, however, I do want to see how this third map unfolds between the San Francisco Shock and the Washington Justice.
Overwatch League online play is brought to you by Xfinity. Experience gamer-grade internet with Xfinity X5.
Welcome back, and we are getting into game rather shortly. Apologise for the delays. Like we mentioned, Shock had a couple of technical issues, but we should be getting back into it. I want to quickly explain what's going to happen too. We're just going to basically restart the round. Shock ended up, like, I don't know what happened, but basically the reason why Choi and Smurf were flanking was because something crashed and they ended up walking forwards, and they would just hold. It was like they held W and M1 and they just kind of walked into the wall and then ended up behind the Justice. So there it is. So we are going to restart the round completely, and we should begin to game momentarily as soon as our admins hit the go button. Then we're all good.
San Francisco's an aggressive team, not a aggressive send both your tanks forward on first point Anubis team. There's a line somewhere, and even San Francisco has that line of we're not going to do that. So obviously just tech issues, but we're getting back into it now. Restarted this round just to catch you up. Washington has 1 minute on their clock, on their time bank, to capture first point and maybe some of second point. San Francisco on their second half of Anubis were able to capture only the first point.
Yeah, so big win con is rather evident for the Justice right now. That 33% on second point. They just need to actually crack the first one, which can be mighty hard, especially against the May from Rascal.
you pretty much only get one push unless you're really, really aggressive about it. One good push, one scuffed push, maybe secondarily. But the amount of times these teams have been taking to set up their pushes and just to get in through left side and then try to push in again. Tuba's just been dancing around up top. So I said before our long pause, which I warned you about, fair warning, I think this one is kind of on Stitch because those are duels and that's a pick that can win you a fight early on. So Stitch versus Ons is going to be the matchup to watch, as no changes on the hero selection screen. It's down to it for Washington, and they've been looking much better than I think a lot of people anticipated. Maybe not after their last couple of matches, but they're on a 2-match win streak, looking to make it 3. Have to get something done here as San Francisco's up 2-0 in our first to 3 series.
Yeah, going back on the point there, Hex, yeah, it definitely will be one fight, especially since you have a May. I mean, well, the enemy team has a May, in fact. I'm just going to take as little damage as possible going through here, but God, with all that damage that was lobbed in, is going to have quite a bit of charge, so all that window can be such a good tool to force people away. And Shock, here you go, here's the aggro Shock that we're thinking about. Rascal's in the back line, Stitch is on fire, and he manages to kill Janu somehow. But Twilight doesn't end up trading out. Tuba can now go for these big resets, hopefully making himself present in the back line of the Shock. But Twilight's keeping himself alive somehow. He's going to make sure his tanks are alive and well for this next push. Arns kills off Stitch, but Tuba killing Rascal is a good start. And the Justice can still get back here. They got spawn advantage, and Tuba is in the back line to touch.
Well, Rascal's going to stay on this May, even though it's not going to get him back to the point very quickly, because he's almost got the Blizzard, but Violet has done it again.
Yeah, he puts the window up on the high ground, and now they're trying to deal with Tuba's. Found himself up there as well. A beautiful boot down. Tuba's 24 HP. If he gets this kill, this could be absolutely massive, but the reflections are coming through, but Twilight just threw an armor pack and Violet just in time. That could be the one pick that they needed. Raw also falls. Aim God trying to make something work. Rascal is so low too, but it's not going to work. The Shock end up holding on first. Justice had 1 minute in their time bank. They couldn't quite get there. And Shock close out the series 3-0 and make it all the way to the semifinals.
Yeah, after the long break, a rather anticlimactic conclusion. San Francisco just turned that last fight into a brawl. They initiated into small room with Rascal. Rascal stayed alive so long because May's got ice block, May's got walls, and he's able to get a lot of scrappy fights done. This allows Violet to get back out, take the high ground really far back, drop windows, and just use his damage-dealing prowess to end up winning that fight for San Francisco. Some credit to Washington Justice. I said it before and I'll be on record. I think in our next tournament, I'd be stunned if they weren't much higher than 13. It's rare that you see signs of improvement over just a couple of weeks, but Washington have really leveled up in my book.
Well, they have indeed. And it was almost inevitable. Shock just a whole new level comparatively to everybody else, it feels like, especially after their 3-0 against Philly the other day, who could see themselves in the semis and maybe even the finals as well. Of course, that is all to play for a little bit later on. We have got the Houston Outlaws up against the Philadelphia Fusion after this one. But another good performance from the Shock. There's nothing really they can't do. It's nice to see Arns as well, not only being drafted in for the Widow, but drafted in for that Ashe too. Stitch couldn't quite win out the 1v1s, but it was all up to Rascal, I will say, on that last push, especially. Being able to isolate people is just so important. And Anubis as well is just so suited, I feel, to Rascal's skill set. Being able to play May and Torb just at such a ridiculous level. In fact, you mentioned it too, and everybody knows it already, but just his hero pool in general just seems to be endless.
It's got to be really nice if you're a coach and it's like an unlimited toolbox where whatever you can imagine, you just reach in and you pull out the exact tool that you need for the time. That's Rascal, and like whatever you need to get done, whatever you want to run. Oh, you want to run this composition? Well, no one in the league plays it. Rascal raises his hand and he's like, give me an hour on it, and then just crushes it. We saw it last year with the introduction of Baptiste, where Rascal comes in and plays one of the best Baptistes we've seen. And the San Francisco Shock team, they've been 3-0ing everybody. They embarrassed Philadelphia straight up. They beat Paris Eternal 3-0 recently before that, and they've 3-0'd this Washington team on the way here. But at San Francisco, we could pick anyone for player of the match nearly every time they play. Who did we pick this time, Jaws?
Yep, player of the match presented by Xfinity. It's not only the DPS that can do the damage, it's Violet as well on the Baptiste. Just not only godlike aim and being able to keep his team alive in clutch situations. I mean, just look at that last couple of seconds from that last map. He was maybe sub 50 HP, and Tubu is still jumping on him, just struggling to land shurikens, which could have tipped it in his favor. Survivalist and a pure marksman as well on the Baptiste, and no surprise there really. We're giving them the
Well, he won Ilios pretty much. I mean, on Ilios you're worried about Ons hitting you, but you really should have worried about Violet. He led his team in final blows on Ilios, and that set the tone for it. But beyond that, like, he does all the fundamentals right. So you're getting everything you would get out of a normal Baptiste. The immortality fields are there. The self-regeneration burst heals are there. Everybody's getting healed. You don't really see them struggling to find heals here. And then it's just the cherry on top is that he is really, really good tracking, really good aim, and just adds that little extra bit of oomph that you need. It's probably one of the reasons why San Francisco wins fights that they lose a person first, is because you don't expect the supports to be able to equalize, and all of a sudden you're in 5v5s, and now you've lost 3 players, and it's just another one of the great San Francisco Shock players.
So I really want a Zen meta to come back where Zen's penalty pick, so I can see Vala on that as well. He pops up on every hero, it feels like, and they've got such a deep support pool too. Of course, they still have Moth on the bench. Like, the guy's also a nutcase on support. It's kind of hard to pick actually a support that you want to field, right? And even Twilight coming in and playing something that's not the Ana, which is also just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we have an updated bracket. I don't have it exactly on my screen, but production tells me that San Francisco is playing Paris. But I guess that's how brackets work. I thought we were doing a higher seeding, lower seeding thing reset. Apparently not. I obviously don't know what I'm talking about most of the time. I've fooled people this much. But San Francisco versus Paris should be a great match. Paris gets a little chance for redemption, but Paris, they looked really, really clean today. And we saw that San Francisco does struggle a little bit against top-tier Genjis. And is there any better Genji in the world right now than Sparkle? And then you have to deal with Exi. We're going to see Exi versus Ons. That's going to be that's going to be awesome.
It's going to be absurd. Imagine just to quickly bring it away from like the match itself, but imagine if you just got those on your team. If you got Exi and Ons on your team in a solo queue game, you're like, well, that's a free win. They can hit literally every single shot. It's ridiculous. I mean, Ons had what, a 56% crit accuracy the other day, which is it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I mean, Arn's a bit of a ridiculous way to make it. That's definitely the matchup to look forward to, that is for sure. But up next, we have got the Outlaws facing against the Fusion. Outlaws, I think a lot of people didn't expect them to make it here, just going on everybody's brackets and how wrong everybody seems to have been. But they've been on the up and up as well, Hex.
Yeah, and it's just another example of a meta really, really suiting a team, and the Outlaws finally finding that 6 that they want to go to. I mean, I think Jexay has come into his own, even on the Brigitte there. But when you have Linkser and you've got Dante, you can run that Widow Tracer. I mean, maybe Genji's a weak point for them, but Dante, I think, played within his wheelhouse when he was on Genji. Wasn't going nuts for it, just used it for utility. A super smart player there. And we've seen, like, if you have a team like Toronto who has these amazing damage dealers, they can carry a squad as long as everyone else is good enough. And yeah, I see upset potential. Philly just got 3-0 swept. Philly has almost, I dare say, some holes in their damage dealing department, because it's hard for them to run a Widow Tracer, because Carpe is, Widow, the best Widow and the best Tracer for that team.
Like we always say, you can't clone Carpe, unfortunately. But that match is coming up rather soon. But first, we have an interview with Johnny and Ansan Sniper.
Yeah, why would you want to clone Carpe when you have damage dealers like Ans? So thank you very much, Jaws. I got Ans joining me here, as well as I from the San Francisco Shock helping translate. Thank you very much for joining me. First question, relatively easy win against the Washington Justice. Ans, what are your thoughts on the match overall? How did you perform?
Okay. 우선 오늘 경기 승리 축하드립니다. 오늘 전체적으로 샌프란시스코 팀의 경기력 어땠다고 생각하시나요? 우선 오늘 경기 승리 축하드립니다. 오늘 전체적으로 샌프란시스코 팀 경기력이 어땠다고 생각하시나요?
일단 우리 팀이 이제 상대팀 워싱턴에 대한 전술 분석에 많은 노력을 썼고요. 이제 그에 연관지어서 상대팀의 전략에 대응하는 전술을 좀 많이 저희가 준비를 했어요. 상대팀도 잘 짜여진 전략이 있어서 이제 받아치는 거에 약간의 조정이 필요했지만, 이제 저희 팀의 피드백을 통해서 다시 전략을 수정해서 승리할 수 있었다고 생각합니다.
Our team has put a lot of effort into analyzing tactics against Washington Justice and follow up with it. Well, we've prepared a lot of tactics to counter enemy composition. However, they also had a well-organized strategy, so it needed some adjustment with our strategies. Gladly, we were able to adjust our strategy by feedback in between maps, and we were able to win the match.
All right. Well, as he said, of course, you gotta prepare specifically for the Washington Justice, and they did a lot of preparation. So, in terms of preparing for that, was that Tuba's Genji that you had to prepare a lot for this matchup?
많은 사람들이 이번 경기에 앞서서 뚜바 선수의 겐지에 많은 주목을 하였었는데요. 그의 플레이가 안스 선수에 영향을 끼친 것이 있나요?
일단 실제로 상대팀의 뚜바 선수가 최근 경기에서 좋은 모습을 많이 보여주어서 저희 코치님들이 이제 뚜바 선수에 비례해서 잘 대처가 가능한 전략과 피드백을 해주셨습니다. 그러한 점들이 오늘 이기는 거에 많은 노력을 주신 것 같습니다.
In fact, Duba has shown good performance in recent matches, so our coaches have given us strategies and feedback that can be handled and countered, and I really think those things from coaches gave us great effort to win today.
Yeah, and I mean, it showed in the result, right? 3-0, so relatively easy there. Now, talking about your career personally, Ans, you were retired for a year before joining the San Francisco Shock and didn't really have the preparation from the Korean contender scene as much. How big was that step up for you in your career to the top level of the Overwatch League? How have you adjusted to the Overwatch League as a player?
개인적인 질문을 하나 해보려고 합니다. 프로대회 경험이 거의 없는 루키 선수인데요. 이번 시즌부터 새롭게 오버워치 리그에 뛰게 되었는데 어떻게 오버워치 리그에 잘 적응할 수 있었나요?
일단 제가 컨텐더스에 1년 정도 생활을 하다가 이번에 리그를 들어오게 되었는데요. 일단 저희 선수들이 저를 너무 잘 챙겨줘서 잘 녹아들지 않았나 싶습니다.
At first, I was at the Contenders League for about 1 year, and once I recently got into the San Francisco Shock, my teammates helped me well to adjust into the Overwatch League well. So I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, always good to have good teammates. And of course, the San Francisco Shock must have some of the best teammates given their results recently. Now, final question. Going into tomorrow, you will be playing against the Paris Eternal, and they have looked really good with Sparkles, Genji, and Exi, Hanbin, etc. Really strong team. How do you feel about your matchup against the Paris Eternal tomorrow?
네, 다음 경기에 관한 질문입니다. 내일 파리 이터널을 상대로 4강전을 치르게 되는데요. 어떠한 각오가 있는지 아니면 상대팀에 대한 개인적인 생각 한번 말씀해 주시면 감사할 것 같습니다.
일단 파리 이터널도 되게 잘하는 팀이기도 하고 되게 최근 들어가지고 좀 많이 잘해졌다고 이제 좋은 모습을 많이 보여주고 있는데 저희 팀도 이번 메타에 되게 많은 준비를 하기도 하였고 이제 여러 가지 선수들도 있기 때문에 여러 가지 다양한 전술들을 준비하여서 저희 팀은 자신 있어요.
Paris Eternal is a good team and has been showing good performance in recent metas, but our team is also confident with tomorrow's match too, because we put a lot of effort into this meta and also prepared various tactics for this meta, so we're pretty much confident.
Yeah, I mean, I would understand that, you know, a 14-match win streak, which is no small feat, so San Francisco Shock looking to truck on. But thank you so much for joining me, Ans, as well as AI for the translations. We'll now be waiting for our next matchup, which is the Philadelphia Fusion against the Houston Outlaws. So stay tuned for Jaws and Hex to take you to the action.